The alpha lay dying in her arms, until his last breath revealed she was his fated mate. Then, the forest of Valadorn was silent, but not truly quiet. Snow fell in soft, uneven flurries, blanketing the ancient trees in a pure, cold white. Moonlight filtered through the branches, casting long, thin shadows across the frozen ground. Somewhere deep in the forest, a sound broke the stillness, weak, ragged, almost a whisper of pain. She had been sent to gather herbs near the elderwood, a sacred part of the forest that no villager dared enter at night. But tonight something drew her farther than she had ever gone. A strange feeling, like a pull in her chest, told her someone needed her. And then she saw him. He lay among the roots of an ancient oak, half buried in snow. His dark hair clung to his forehead, damp with blood, his clothes torn. At first glance, he looked like a man who had simply fallen. But there was something in the air, something alive and wild. The forest seemed to tense around him, as if it were holding its breath. Seraphine's heart skipped. She approached slowly, kneeling beside him. His breathing was shallow, and the warmth of life in his skin was fading. Instinctively, she dropped to her knees, pressing her hands against his chest. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Don't go." He stirred, a low groan escaping his lips. His eyes, dark and piercing even in pain, opened slightly. He looked at her, not with fear, but with recognition, though she had never seen him before. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice rough, broken. "It's too dangerous." "I couldn't leave you," Seraphine replied, her voice trembling. "I couldn't." He tried to sit up, but the movement made him wince sharply. His hand brushed against hers, and she felt it, a strange electric pull, like a current running through her veins. The forest around them seemed to shift, a chill moving through the trees as if warning her to step back. "I am Kale," he said finally, each word slow, deliberate. "Alpha of the Duskfang pack, and now very weak." Seraphine's eyes widened. She had heard stories of the Duskfangs, wolves of legend, fierce and untamed, loyal only to their own, and here lay their alpha, mortal and broken in front of her. "Don't worry," she said. "I'll help you. I know how to care for wounds." He shook his head slightly, pain twisting his features. "You don't understand. This isn't just any wound. Dark forces, they hunted me. They don't forgive. And if I die," his voice faltered, fear flickering behind the mask of strength he had once worn. Seraphine felt a shiver run through her. He wasn't just hurt. He was being hunted by something beyond the ordinary. She could feel it too, a presence in the shadows, watching, waiting. "I won't let you die," she whispered. "I don't care what hunts you." "You're not alone." For a long moment he studied her, his eyes searching, questioning. And then he laughed softly, a sound rough and broken, but tinged with something she didn't expect. Relief. "Most humans would have fled by now," Kale said. "You stayed." "I couldn't leave you," she said again, her voice firmer this time. He gave a faint, bitter smile. "Then perhaps..." You are braver than you know. Seraphine set to work. She tore strips from her own clothing to wrap around the deeper wounds, cleaned away blood with snow, and whispered words of encouragement. Cale winced with every movement, but he did not resist. Somehow, she could tell he trusted her, though she had no right to. As she worked, the air seemed to hum, alive with a subtle energy. Shadows shifted unnaturally among the trees, yet they did not touch her. And Cale's wolf stirred beneath the surface. Even in his weakened state, she could sense it, the wild, untamed spirit that was both part of him and something more. "You can feel it, can't you?" he murmured, almost to himself. "The wolf, it knows you're different." "I feel it," Seraphine admitted, "and I think it trusts me." Cale's lips parted, as if to speak, but he only sighed, leaning back against the roots. The moonlight glinted off the blood on his skin, and she felt a pang of sorrow. How could someone so strong, so powerful, lie here, helpless and fading? Hours passed. The cold seeped into her bones, but Seraphine refused to leave. She wrapped him in her cloak, holding him close to keep him warm. She murmured old prayers, old songs, anything to keep his life from slipping away. "You shouldn't be doing this," Cale said finally, his voice barely audible. "If they find you, they will come for you, too." "I don't care," she said simply. "I will face them. I won't leave you." A faint flicker of color returned to his cheeks, though weak. And then, unexpectedly, Cale's eyes softened. Something broke in him, a wall of pride and fear, crumbling in front of this human who dared care. You are unlike any I've met," he whispered. "I could say the same," she replied, brushing a stray lock of hair from his forehead. "I've seen fear. I've seen power. And I've seen loneliness. You're not what they say you are." He looked at her, something raw and vulnerable in his gaze. For the first time, he did not see a human in front of him, a healer, a stranger. He saw someone who could touch his heart when no one else could. "Loneliness," he murmured. "Oh, it's been my companion for years. My pack, my strength. None of it matters without someone to share it with. And now, you are here." The wind whispered through the trees, a soft lullaby that seemed to respond to him. The moonlight glimmered against the frost. Seraphine could feel it too, the bond forming, subtle but undeniable. Suddenly, Cale shuddered violently, pain racking his body. He gasped, and Seraphine clutched him tightly. "Stay with me, Cale." "Please," she begged, her heart pounding in her chest. "I can't promise," he whispered, voice barely audible, "but I trust you." She didn't let go. She wrapped her arms around him, pressing him close, feeling the heat of his body against her own, however faint. In that moment, she realized something extraordinary. The Alpha was not just a man, not just a leader of wolves. He was a being caught between worlds, human and wolf, strength and vulnerability. life and something far darker. The forest shifted again, and Seraphine felt it, the presence of the dark forces Cale had spoken of. They lingered at the edges of the trees, invisible but not gone, like smoke in the air. Her heart leapt in fear, but she did not release him. "You will not take him," she said, more to herself than anyone else. "Not tonight. Not ever." Cale's hand trembled as it found hers. Their fingers brushed, and a spark shot through both of them. A recognition, a connection beyond words. Even his wolf seemed to pause, sensing the bond forming. For a long moment, they simply held each other. Snow fell softly around them. The forest was quiet, but alive, watching, waiting. And then Cale spoke again, his voice weaker, trembling with emotion he had long denied. "You may be my fate," he whispered. Seraphine froze. Her heart skipped, a strange warmth blossoming despite the cold. She had never believed in destiny, in fated mates, in stories whispered around fires. But in this moment, lying in the snow with Cale, she could feel it too. Something ancient and powerful had stirred the moment she touched him. Before she could speak, he gasped sharply. His eyes fluttered shut. His body trembled violently. Panic surged through her. "Cale," she cried, holding him tighter. "Stay with me! Please, don't leave me!" He opened his eyes once more, faintly, and looked at her, not with fear, but with something else, something that mirrored her own growing feelings. "You will know," he whispered. "The truth, soon." And then he collapsed against her, unconscious, but alive. Seraphine's hands shook as she held him, pressed close against the cold snow. The forest was silent again, except for the soft sighs of the wind. She didn't know what the future held. She didn't know what forces lurked in the shadows, or what danger awaited them both. But one thing was certain. She would not let him go. Not ever? The moon hung high in the sky, bright and cold. And in the shadowed woods of Valadorn, the bond between the wounded Alpha and the healer had begun. A bond that would change them both and awaken forces long forgotten. The forest of Valadorn seemed calmer than before, but Seraphine did not trust the quiet. Snow still covered the ground, soft and untouched, but she could feel the tension in the air, the kind that whispered of danger. Cale lay unconscious in her arms, his chest rising and falling slowly, but each breath felt fragile, like glass ready to break. She had carried him through the trees to a small clearing, hidden by a thicket of frost-covered shrubs. Here, she could tend to him more safely, though she knew it was only temporary. The dark forces that had hunted him were still out there, and she had no idea how strong they were, or what would happen if they returned. Seraphine lowered him gently onto a bed of soft pine branches she had gathered. She pulled her cloak tighter around him, covering his wounds as best she could. Her hands trembled, not from cold, but from fear, and a strange, growing connection she could not explain. Cale's wolf stirred within him, restless even as his human body slept. She felt it, a vibration in the air that made her skin prickle. Something old and powerful was tied to him. Something that made her heart beat faster, though she did not yet understand why. She began to prepare a small fire, careful not to let the smoke travel too far. She had learned to survive in the forest, but she had never faced anything like this. Her mind raced with questions. Who had attacked Kale? Why? And why did she feel as if her own life was tied to his? Hours passed. The cold seeped into her bones, but she refused to leave him. She watched his chest, listened to his shallow breathing, and whispered to him, though she knew he could not hear. "You have to survive," she said softly. "I don't know what I'll do if you don't. I won't leave you here." Finally, Kale stirred. His eyes opened slowly, dark and sharp, even in pain. He tried to sit up but faltered, wincing as the motion sent shocks of pain through his body. Seraphine quickly steadied him. "Careful," she whispered. "You need rest. You've been through too much." Something in it was intense and unreadable. He looked at her, not like a human looks at another human, but like a wolf sees its mate for the first time, cautious, searching, yet drawn irresistibly. "You stayed," he murmured, voice low and hoarse. "You didn't leave me." "I couldn't," Seraphine replied. "Not when you were here, hurt, alone. I couldn't just walk away." He studied her for a long moment. The pain in his eyes seemed to fade slightly, replaced by something else. Recognition, maybe, or longing. Something she could feel deep in her chest. "I've been alone for a long time," he said quietly. "Stronger than most, feared by many, yet always alone. And now you're here." "You're not alone now," Seraphine said firmly. "I'm here. And I'll stay as long as you need me." Kale's wolf shifted within him, and Seraphine felt the pulse of it through the air. His body trembled slightly, though she could not tell if it was pain or something else. She reached for his hand, her fingers brushing against his, and this time the spark between them was stronger, undeniable. "You feel it, don't you?" Kale whispered. "The wolf." Something familiar. "I feel it," Seraphine admitted. "I don't understand it, but I feel it too. Like it's waiting for me. Like it's been waiting a long time." Kale's eyes darkened, and for a moment he said nothing. The forest was quiet, except for the faint crackling of the fire. He finally spoke, voice low and trembling. "They told me humans can't understand the bond. That mates, that fated connections, are just myths. But with you, He stopped, unable to continue, as if the words themselves were dangerous. Seraphine squeezed his hand. She did not need him to finish. She understood, somehow, deep in her heart, she understood. "You're my mate, aren't you?" she asked softly, more a statement than a question. Kale's eyes widened slightly. Then, slowly, he nodded, as if admitting a truth he had tried to hide even from himself. "Yes," he whispered. "I didn't know. Not until now. But I feel it. I feel it in the wolf. In myself. And in you." The revelation hung between them like a delicate thread. Neither spoke for several long minutes. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, the snow falling softly, the fire crackling, the silence of the night almost sacred. But peace did not last. From deep within the forest, a faint sound reached them, a rustle, subtle but deliberate. The hairs on Seraphine's neck stood on end. Kale's eyes snapped open, sharp, alert. The wolf inside him growled low and threatening. "They've found us," he said, his voice a mix of warning and command. "The ones who attacked me? They're coming. And they won't hesitate to take both of us." She had feared this, but hearing him confirm it made the danger real, immediate. She helped him to his feet as best she could, supporting his weight. His wolf growled again, fierce and protective. "We need to move," Kale said. "They'll follow the trail, but if we can reach the cliffs of Lareth, we can hide until dawn." "The wind there, it confuses even the best trackers." Seraphine nodded, determined. "Then we go. I'll not let them touch you." They moved through the forest carefully, Kale leaning on her for support at times, but even wounded, he was strong, alert, and dangerous. Seraphine felt the wolf within him guiding their path, senses sharper than her own, noticing every shift of shadow, every movement in the trees. Hours passed as they trudged through the snow. Kale's strength waned, but Seraphine's resolve grew. They spoke little, conserving energy, but the connection between them deepened with every step. Every touch, every shared breath, every glance spoke volumes. Finally, they reached a high cliff overlooking the frozen river below. The wind whipped around them, cold and sharp, but it carried safety. Kale collapsed against her again, exhausted. She helped him sit, wrapping him in the cloak and blankets she carried. "You saved me," he said quietly, voice hoarse. "Again, and..." I feel something I've never felt before. Warmth, even in the cold. I don't want to lose it. "You won't," Seraphine said firmly. "I'll stay with you. I don't care what comes." He looked at her, his dark eyes soft, vulnerable, and human in a way no one else had ever seen him. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel, not just as an alpha, not as a warrior, not as a wolf, but as a man. And she allowed herself to feel the pull too, the bond between them growing stronger, impossible to ignore. But even as they sat together, safe for the moment, the wind carried a sound, a howl, long and chilling. Seraphine froze. Kale's ears twitched. The wolf inside him shifted, restless. "They're near," Kale said. "Closer than I thought." She tightened her hold on him. Then, "We face them together," she said. He nodded, determination flickering in his eyes. "Together," he agreed. The night stretched on. They sat on the cliff, watching the forest below, listening to the distant howls, waiting for dawn. Every moment brought them closer, not just as alpha and healer, but as mates, connected in ways they were only beginning to understand. Kale reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I've always protected my pack," he said quietly. "I've never needed anyone like this before. But now, I can't imagine losing you." Seraphine's eyes filled with tears. "You won't lose me," she whispered. Not now. Not ever. The first light of dawn began to touch the horizon, pale and fragile. The howls in the distance faded with the rising sun, but the danger had not passed. Cale still leaned on her, exhausted but alive, their bond solidifying in the quiet morning. And in that moment, both of them knew that this was only the beginning. The world was larger, darker, and more dangerous than they could imagine, but they would face it together. Mates, connected, stronger than they had ever been alone. Seraphine brushed a strand of hair from Cale's face, holding him close. We'll survive this, she said. I promise. Cale's wolf growled softly, almost like a rumble of agreement. He closed his eyes, resting for the first time in what felt like forever, trusting her completely. But even as they rested, a shadow moved in the trees, silent and patient. Something, or someone, watched them, waiting for the right moment to strike. And the forest seemed to whisper. Their bond was powerful, yes, but the darkness was patient, and the night was not yet over. The wind over the cliffs of Lareth was sharp and cold, carrying the scent of pine and distant snow. Seraphine adjusted the cloak around Cale, who still sat leaning heavily against her, his body weak from his injuries and the lingering effects of the attack. The bond between them pulsed quietly, like a heartbeat neither could ignore. Cale's wolf stirred beneath the surface, restless and alert. Every so often, his ears twitched, as if sensing movement beyond the clearing. Seraphine's heart pounded in response. They had survived the journey here, but the dark forces hunting him were patient. She knew they would not give up. You need to rest, she said softly, brushing a lock of hair from his forehead. You're stronger than you know, but even you can't fight on empty strength. He shook his head faintly, eyes half-lidded but still sharp. I cannot rest. Not yet. They are close. I can feel it. You've already done enough, she insisted. You survived. That's what matters. Cale's gaze softened as he looked at her. In that moment, the fierce alpha and the wild wolf melted into something more vulnerable, more human. And yet, I feel more alive than I have in years. With you, his words faltered, almost lost in the cold wind, but the meaning was clear. Seraphine's chest tightened. She had felt it too, the connection that went beyond explanation, beyond instinct. He was her mate. And even though she had never imagined such a bond could exist, she knew it was real. Before she could say more, a sudden rustle came from the trees below the cliff. The wolf inside Cale growled low, deep in his throat. He pushed himself upright, every muscle tensing despite the pain. They're here, he said, voice steady but urgent. The ones who attacked me? They're closer than I thought. Seraphine's hands moved automatically, helping him to stand. Then we face them, she said. Together. Cale nodded, gripping her hand tightly. The bond between them surged, warm and undeniable, as if the universe itself recognized their connection. Together, they moved toward the edge of the cliff, eyes scanning the forest below. The shadows shifted. Figures emerged. barely visible among the trees, silhouettes moving with unnatural speed and precision. Seraphine could feel the danger pressing in, but she did not panic. Kale's presence, steady and protective, anchored her. "They are shadow hunters," Kale whispered. "Servants of the Veil of Darkness. They feed on fear, on broken bonds, and they have been hunting me for months." Seraphine's brow furrowed. "Why you? Why would they care about you?" Kale's eyes darkened. "Because of this," he said, lifting his arm slightly. The silvery symbol on his wrist shimmered faintly, the same mark she had seen before. "I am bound to a fate they cannot control. And when a fated mate appears, it threatens them." "Fated mate?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Kale, you mean me?" He nodded slowly, gaze locked on hers. "Yes, you are the one I was meant to find, the one my wolf has waited for." "And now the hunters want to destroy what we are before it grows stronger." Seraphine felt a chill run down her spine. The reality of their situation hit her fully. Not only were they in danger, but the bond forming between them, something so rare and powerful, was the reason. Kale stepped closer, his hand brushing hers. "If they succeed, if they harm you, I will not forgive myself. You must understand. I am your mate, and I will protect you at all costs." Her heart ached at the words, both from fear and from the undeniable truth she felt. "I don't care about costs," she whispered. "I'll stay with you. I don't care what comes." Kale's wolf growled in approval, a vibration that she felt in her bones. But before they could plan their next move, the first of the shadow hunters leapt forward from the trees. A dark figure, clad in black, with eyes that gleamed like coals, moved faster than the eye could follow. Kale reacted instantly, shifting subtly. His body tensed, muscles coiling as if he were both man and wolf at the same time. He pushed Seraphine back behind a rock just as the hunter's strike came, narrowly missing her. Seraphine's heart raced. "Kale!" she shouted, fear mingled with awe. Even wounded, he was formidable, moving with an unnatural speed and precision. The battle was brief but intense. Kale fought with strength, but also caution, aware of his injuries. He struck and dodged, the wolf inside him lending speed and power beyond human limits. The hunters were relentless, but something in Kale's connection to Seraphine seemed to shield them. Each time she looked at him, she felt a surge of warmth and courage that steadied her. Finally, the last hunter retreated, vanishing into the forest like a shadow swallowed by the night. Kale collapsed to one knee, panting, pain flashing across his face. Seraphine rushed to him immediately, helping him sit. "You're hurt," she said, examining his side where a new cut had appeared. I thought we were safe for a moment." He shook his head, wincing. "Safe never really exists. Not for someone like me. But I have you, and that changes things." The bond between them pulsed stronger, almost painfully so, as if acknowledging their survival in the recognition of their fated connection. Seraphine felt tears prick her eyes. She brushed a hand across his cheek. "You're amazing," she whispered. "Even with all of this, you never gave up." Kale's gaze softened. "I didn't give up. Because of you. You give me purpose, hope, something I thought I had lost forever." For a long moment, they simply held each other, the forest around them silent again, except for the distant rush of the wind and the falling snow. Neither wanted to speak, afraid to break the fragile moment. Then Kale's hand lifted, trembling slightly. He brushed the hair from her face, his thumb tracing the line of her cheek. "I have lived many years," he said quietly, "as Alpha, as Protector, as Wolf, but never truly as myself. Never with someone who sees all of me without fear. And now, you are here." Seraphine's heart pounded. She had never felt anything so intense, so certain. "Kale, I feel it too," she whispered. "This bond, it's real. And I will not let anyone take it from us." The wind shifted suddenly, colder now, and Seraphine noticed movement in the trees again. Shadows stretched unnaturally, and a soft whisper seemed to float through the forest. The bond cannot be allowed to grow. Destroy it. Kale's wolf growled low, the sound vibrating through the ground. He stood, holding her hand firmly. "They are not done," he said, "and neither can I be. We must find the source, the veil of darkness itself. That is where this threat begins, and where it will end." Seraphine nodded, determination in her eyes. "Then we go together," she said. "I won't leave you." Kale's gaze softened, and for the first time he allowed himself to relax slightly, trusting her completely. "Together?" he repeated. They moved through the forest carefully, the snow crunching softly beneath their feet. Kale's wolf senses guided them, alert to every sound, every shadow. Seraphine could feel the bond pulsing between them, stronger with every step. She knew this connection was more than instinct. It was fate. The light of day faded, leaving them in a twilight world of gray and silver. The veil of darkness, they realized, was closer than they had imagined. Strange shapes moved at the edge of vision, almost like smoke or mist, watching, waiting. Kale paused, turning to her. "If we face this, we must be ready," he said. "Not just as alpha and healer, but as mates, bound by something neither of us can ignore. Our strength lies in that bond." Seraphine nodded, gripping his hand tightly. "Then we fight together. Always." The forest seemed to pulse with tension, the shadows moving closer, and in that moment both of them understood the truth. Their bond was powerful, yes, but it also made them a target. The darkness would not give up, and to survive they would need to embrace their fated connection fully, or risk losing everything. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Kale looked down at Seraphine. "You are my mate," he whispered, voice strong now, resolute. "And I will not let anything take you from me. Not them. Not fate, not even death." Seraphine felt the warmth of his words, a courage spreading through her that matched his. Then we face it together, she said. And with that, the forest around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the storm that was coming, the storm that would test their bond, their courage, and the strength of the fated connection that had begun to awaken. The forest of Valadorn was darker than usual, the snow barely reflecting the pale light of the moon. Seraphine and Kale stood at the edge of a narrow clearing, the trees bending slightly as if whispering warnings. The air was heavy, thick with magic, and a faint hum seemed to vibrate through the ground. Kale's eyes scanned the shadows, sharp and alert, wolf senses guiding every movement. Seraphine stayed close, gripping his arm, feeling the pulse of their bond. The veil of darkness, the entity that had haunted them for weeks, was near. They could feel its presence, cold, patient, and dangerous. "Are you ready?" Kale asked, voice low but steady. His wolf growled beneath the surface, sensing the enemy approaching. Seraphine nodded, determination in her eyes. I am. We face it together. Always. Kale's jaw tightened. Then we go. They stepped forward, deeper into the clearing. The snow around them seemed to absorb sound, making their movements almost ghost-like. And then, from the shadows, it appeared. A figure taller than any man, with silver eyes that glowed like moonlight, and a presence that pressed down on them, like winter itself. Kael, Alpha of the Dusk Fangs, and you, the voice hissed, turning toward Seraphine, the mate. You cannot hide. You cannot escape your fate. Kale stepped in front of Seraphine instinctively, his wolf growling fiercely. We are not afraid of you, he said. Your threats do not scare us. Not while we are together. Together? Do you know what you are? Your bond makes you weak. It binds your strength. One will fall, and the other will suffer. Seraphine's heart pounded. No, she said firmly. Our bond is not weakness. It is strength. And we will not let you harm anyone, especially not each other. The veil hissed, smoke curling from its form. Then you will fall, as all mortals do. I will not be denied. Kale's wolf growled, a deep vibration that shook the snow. He moved forward, eyes fixed on the veil. You will not take her. Not today. Not ever. The air crackled with energy as the veil lunged, moving faster than the eye could follow. Kale met it instantly, shifting subtly, the wolf rising in him. He was alpha and human, strength and speed, united. Seraphine felt the power of their bond surging, a warmth she had never known, filling her chest and steadying her nerves. The veil struck again, its power lashing at them like cold lightning. Kale blocked, deflected, and countered, each movement precise, controlled. Seraphine stayed close, helping as she could, weaving herbs and whispered words of power she had learned in her healing studies, guiding energy to strengthen Kale. You are stronger together than you know, she whispered, almost to herself. Believe in the bond. In us. Kale caught her gaze, and in that instant, everything fell into place. He realized the truth he had tried to deny. The bond, their fate, their connection. It was the source of their strength. The veil had fed on isolation and fear, but love, trust, and choice were far more powerful. He took a deep breath, letting the wolf within him rise fully. "Seraphine," he said, voice low and commanding, "hold my hand. Focus on the bond. Trust it. Trust us." Seraphine reached out, placing her hand in his. The warmth surged immediately, like sunlight breaking through frost. Their bond flared brightly, a shimmering pulse of silver and gold light radiating outward. The veil hissed in fury, recoiling from the power. "You cannot resist me," it spat, moving again, faster and sharper. Kale stepped forward, unafraid. "No, we are not weak. We are stronger than you." And then something incredible happened. The bond, the love, the recognition of their fated connection pushed the veil back. The snow around them lifted slightly, swirling in a vortex of light and wind. Kale and Seraphine felt it, their hearts beating in sync, their breaths aligned, their souls united in purpose. "You see now," Kale said, voice steady. "Our bond is our power. You cannot break it. You cannot take her." The veil shrieked, its form flickering and unstable. It lashed out one final time, a tendril of darkness aimed directly at Seraphine. Instinctively, Kale threw himself in front of her, taking the blow. Pain shot through him, but he did not falter. His wolf howled, a sound that echoed through the forest, shaking the shadows. Seraphine cried out, reaching for him. "Kale!" He turned, eyes filled with warmth and love, and whispered, "I am here." Always trust the bond. Trust us. She reached deeper into the connection, feeling the strength of him, of them, of fate itself. Energy surged through her, bright and fierce, pushing the veil backward. Kale stood tall beside her, wounded but unyielding. Together they radiated a power the veil could not touch. The shadow hesitated, flickering like smoke in the wind. Kale stepped closer, hand still holding Seraphine's. "Begone," he said, voice strong. "You have no place here." The veil screamed, the sound shrill and filled with fury, before dissolving into nothing, leaving only the cold night and the soft falling snow. The forest seemed to exhale, releasing tension that had held it in a grip for weeks. Kale sank to his knees, exhausted, his wounds bleeding but stable. Seraphine knelt beside him, pressing her hands to him gently. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it." Kale looked at her, every ounce of fear and doubt replaced by awe and gratitude. "No," he said softly. "You did it. You believed in us. When I could not, you made me see the truth. That our bond, our fate, it is stronger than any darkness." Seraphine shook her head, tears glimmering in her eyes. "We are mates, Kale. That is enough. Together, we are strong." Kale smiled faintly, the wolf inside him calm now, at peace. "I have lived many years," he said quietly, "as alpha, as warrior, as protector. I never imagined—" He hesitated, words thick with emotion. "I never imagined I could feel this complete Until you? Seraphine pressed her forehead to his. And I'd never imagined I could feel so safe, so whole, until you. For a long moment, they stayed like that, connected, bonded, hearts and souls aligned. The forest around them was silent, peaceful, as if acknowledging their victory. But the world was still alive, still waiting. Cale knew that other dangers could come, that darkness always lingered. Yet, for the first time, he also knew that they could face anything together. He helped Seraphine to her feet, supporting her as she steadied herself. The bond, he said, is not just fate. It is choice, and we choose each other every moment, every day. That is what makes us strong. Seraphine nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Then we face the future together. Whatever comes, we are not alone. The first light of dawn touched the horizon, a soft gold blending with the silver of the snow. Cale and Seraphine stood side by side, watching the forest awaken. Wolves in the distance howled softly, as if acknowledging their alpha and his mate. Cale reached down, taking her hand fully in his, pressing it to his chest where his heartbeat was strong and steady. "You are my mate," he said, "and I will protect you for as long as I live, not just because of the bond, but because of you." "And I am yours," Seraphine replied, warmth in her voice. "Not just because of fate, but because of you." They stood together on the cliff, side by side, connected, unbroken, and stronger than ever. The darkness had come for them, but it had failed. The bond of fated mates had triumphed, not just by destiny, but by courage, trust, and love. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light on the snow, Cale finally removed his hand from hers and rested it on her shoulder, a gesture of protection and partnership. The symbol on his wrist glimmered faintly, no longer a warning, but a mark of a bond recognized by the universe itself. The forest seemed alive with a new energy, vibrant and free. And as they walked together through the snow, ready to return to their pack and face whatever came next, both Cale and Seraphine knew this truth. Their bond was unbreakable, their love unwavering, and their fate theirs to shape. Even as the shadows of the past lingered at the edges, they had learned the greatest power of all: to stand together, to trust one another, and to fight with both heart and courage. And the forest whispered their names: Alpha and Mate, bound by destiny, strengthened by choice, and ready for whatever came next.